I'm John. I'm with C3, and like I said, there's only a couple of us on here, but oh, there we go. So recording is working. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. I think I am sharing it. Is that right? No, not yet. So let's do this. We're gonna.
But here's the thing.
Hey there. Good morning. Looks like we have a couple other folks on here. You guys can just mute your mic. Actually, I'll do that quick. Okay, great. Just want to make sure everybody can get in. Good morning. Hi there. I'm John with C3. It looks like we had a couple other people here today. So appreciate you guys joining us. Like I said, we're going to get started right here now. We're going to talk a little bit about lecture. I guess more specifically, it's going to be kind of geared more towards PowerPoint. I'm sure everyone's made a PowerPoint, especially if you're a trainer, and how to kind of move away from that lecture, or at least the formula of, you know, see if I can shut this off here. So when people enter, you'd think I work for a software company, I'd be super tech savvy, but let me see if I can change this here. Teams is not my favorite application, I guess. Here we go, meeting options. I don't know why I have to admit people each time they come in, but I guess that's a Microsoft thing. Not very inclusive. It's super slow. So I'm going to go ahead and just let callers bypass. Here we go. Everyone. That. That's strange. Okay. Well, I think everyone's in anyway. So again, John, C3, just a quick recap. It keeps beeping every time someone tries to come in here. I'm going to shut that off. Well, I guess I'll just kind of have to let people in as they come. I'm sorry, just bear with me 1 second. It keeps beeping at me. And I let people in, so for some reason it doesn't want to let everybody in. All right, let people bypass. Well, hopefully this works. So again, we're going to chat a bit about how to make your lectures more engaging. I think you know, most people use PowerPoints in their live sessions. A lot of cases, you'll even send out your slides as like a post-session review. I'm going to show you how to, you know, repurpose some of that into something that's more engaging. So what are you doing now? What are some of the things that you're doing in your training program? I'm doing this in part because I want to show you, you know, sort of the traditional way that people use these PowerPoints to ask questions and how you can get them to be more engaging. I know this happens a lot. I'm sure it's happened to all of you, where you ask a question in your PowerPoint slide and you hear crickets. So I'm sure in this case, you know, you guys are more engaging. You're all trainers. You know, maybe responding isn't such a big deal, but in a lot of cases, it's hard to get people to respond to these type of slides. And this is a great example of one of them. So, you know, what are some challenges you have? What are you doing with your live lectures? What are some things that you're struggling with here kind of towards the end of 2021? And then my last one is, do you have questions like these, basically slides like these? So no feedback. Actually, that's a great example. So I appreciate that. Well, we're going to swing back to this exact same content in a second. Because again, we're going to talk about how to repurpose your lectures to make them more engaging, especially when people don't want to be engaging. So I think this will be good. So I'm going to just kind of chat about a few things. Again, I'm just showing you the PowerPoint because I want to show you how you could repurpose it. So try to pay close attention to some of these questions, or at least some of the things that I'm talking about, because we're going to kind of recap it in a different way in a second here. But one of the reasons I don't think lecture is the best necessarily. And I know in some cases, you have to do it, right? It's part of it, your training program, or in some cases it's required. But it's not interactive. It's just one person talking, right? I talk, you listen, take notes, sort of thing. The slides are also and I think they hold presenters back in a lot of ways because they're structured, right? So it's the same content each time. You're presenting it pretty much the same way each time. So again, I try to put some questions on here. We're going to circle back to that. But what's your favorite lecture? I'm guessing you probably can't remember too many. Maybe a TED Talk. Those tend to be better just because of the content. But in a lot of cases, the content that you're training is pretty boring. So what do you do to jazz that up a bit? And I think, again, we'll see what that looks like in a second here. It's a lot of effort to build these PowerPoint slides too. But again, as I mentioned, handcuffing the presenter, and in my opinion, I think one of the big reasons is that it kind of stops the development, right? So you're not developing content to make training better for people because you have a rhythm and you have a pattern that you're going through. Okay, now I'm talking about this. Now I'm going to talk about that. You're not necessarily getting the feedback to know, well, do my participants understand this? How do I prove it? How do I actually spend some time teaching as opposed to just lecturing? Because in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily know if lecturing is the definition of teaching. I think identifying where there are problems and fixing them, I think that's where, I think most trainers, bread is buttered, right? So how do I help people get better? And, in a lot of ways, you're handcuffed by the PowerPoint slide, right? This is what we're talking about now. So now we're going to chat about this. And, I think those never-ending slides, if you have 60 slide PowerPoints, they can be exhausting for the presenter and certainly for the presentee. So what else? What else can you do? There's a lot of things. I'm going to talk about, if you've seen our software before, we focus on games. We're going to go a little bit off on that today. We're going to chat a little bit about, we have a polling tool, very similar to some other products out there. But, if you can use it in conjunction with a number of other things, i.e. games, polling, as I mentioned before, micro learning. So finding out that, if there's retention after a training session, those are all things that you can do to, sort of gauge how your training is, how your participants are responding. And keep in mind, every class is different too. So you may have one class this week that's totally different than a class next month. So, I think it's important to understand that and, be willing to change and adapt. And I think that's something that not a lot of trainers necessarily do quickly, maybe organizationally, but I do think it's important to, again, identify the knowledge gaps and sort of fill them in. So hopefully we can help with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about analytics because I think that's something that's very important. You can do polling. I can throw a poll up on here on Teams or Zoom or whatever you have. And that's the bare minimum. But I do think just even having that information is very powerful. So, but I think more importantly, it creates a teachable moment. So, getting data is great, and I think it's useful. You can always give someone a quiz or a test, get that information back, and then remediate if necessary. But if you can get it real time, you're able to create those teachable moments, right? So, hey, why are you guys thinking that, this answer is correct? And then you're having unique dialogue for each session. So I think that's something that's really important. We're going to chat about this in a second, but this is my PowerPoint slide. And I made it really short and I made it really kind of, not too exciting to show you how it could be if presented in a different way. So firstly, I'd like to just show you how you could do this yourself. So if you're a customer, if you have our product, or in some cases, if you have a different product, I know that there's other things out there. This is one way that you can export your PowerPoint slides, your lecture material. And if you have a Mac, I think it's a little different. So this is oops, I think I'm not sharing anymore. Let me just share my full screen here. This thing is very, very slow. I'm sorry, I got the little spinning wheel of Microsoft death here. I'm gonna shut my camera off, that might speed it up. Okay. There we go. So this is my Mac. Again, the Microsoft one is, I believe it's under Save As. You can also do Save As. But on this system, I click Export. And what I'm doing is it's asking me if I want to save my slide as a PDF. I do believe it's the default here. But if you change the file format to an image, so it could be a JPEG, PNG is a little bit larger file. And I'm going to save every slide. So maybe I want to repurpose 6 or 7 slides out of here. In a lot of cases, I know people build these presentations. You have questions kind of built into them. Those are perfect if you wanted to throw them into a game. So go ahead and export those. It'll save them on your desktop. I've already saved mine. It's under presentation here. So I'll come back to that in a second. And what I would like to do is show you what it looks like in our game. Basically, what I've done is I've taken those PowerPoint images and I drag and drop them into one of our games. This is Tally. And so for those of you that kind of came on late, I think I only mentioned this to a couple people. We had a little bit smaller of a group than normal today. So I wanted to do something different. So this morning, it took me about 10 minutes. I built a Tally game. So Tally has been a product that we've had for a number of years. However, we have an updated version releasing, I think, Friday. So I was testing it this morning kind of internally and thought, what the heck, we'll play it today since we have a smaller group. So I'm going to show you how I repurposed some of that PowerPoint content into a game. And we'll do that with Tally here. So if you have a cell phone handy, it's going to be the best way to log in. I like to have people use their phones. It just keeps people off the phone. And I'd like you to use this QR code to sign in. Normally, the join-in email is easier, but it's actually, you can click on that too. I'll type it into the chat and then enter in my code, which is 0005. This is our development site, so it won't be on your site if you're a customer quite yet, but in a couple of days it will be. Okay, of course, I've typed it in twice because Microsoft just absolutely hates me today. I hate Microsoft. This is another reason I use PowerPoint. Okay, sorry, the second one worked, I think. Anyway, looks like we got a lot of folks on here, so I'm going to get started. If you want to join later, I think I typed it in there correctly. I'm not sure if I did. It said Microsoft Teams is not my favorite. But you can always type this into your another browser tab if you'd like, and then just punch in that ID, type in whatever name you want here. So this is, the new version of Tally. It's the first time anyone's seen it that's not an internal user. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to show it, but I don't care. And this is my little icebreaker I like to do at the beginning. Just go ahead and click on where you're from. I thought this was a funny picture, kind of famous food from where you live. We're here in Minnesota, so I guess Dairy Queen is the big one here. I think Cane's Chicken is from here too. I could be wrong, but it's a bar in New York. I don't know. Whataburger. Cold Stone from Arizona. See, some of these I don't even know. That's always fun. Papa Murphy's, okay. Okay. McDonald's, we got some folks in Michigan. I think I can click on your names. Normally your name shows up here. We got some folks in Florida, Texas. Didn't realize Domino's was Michigan, but again, like I said, this is kind of a demo version. So I think normally your names will pop up here, but we're working on a beta version of this. So this is normally what we do in our presentations. And maybe it says here. I guess it's on the final version. But everyone gets a point for that. So again, what I've done is I've taken my PowerPoint slides and I've actually just completely drug them into this presentation. So I know you're probably thinking, hey, this looks small. You can zoom in on it. Again, this is just my intro screen, which I intentionally made very boring today. But I can zoom in, lecture. And I think that's one of the formulas that I really like about our games is you have this presentation material. Every single person that's playing right now knows this is a game, right? So you've captured everybody's attention. They're all focused. Okay, what is the lecture? What is the presenter saying right now? Because in a second, I'm going to have to answer some questions. So I think you're already off to a good start, specifically with games. I think this program is a little less gamified. Again, we'll show you in a second here, but I think the formula kind of stays the same, right? Introduce a topic, use that captured attention to kind of dive in. Hey, today we're going to talk about lectures and what you can do to go beyond that and make things more engaging. So again, this was a question that I had asked you earlier that I've repurposed here. So what are your current challenges with your training program? So go ahead and just type it into your phone and make sure you hit submit. I think you have to. This is the first group I've ever used this with. So I guess if there's any bugs, we'll find out. Virtual training, right? That was a response I didn't get earlier. Engagement, attention grabbers, right? So look at this feedback. I've basically forced you to do it. So good feedback, everybody. And if I wanted to, I could sit here and wait and try to get responses. Hey, Jeff, what do you think? And that just might be something that you could use later. Never used for live, but want to. Oh, Heather, you got to use this for the live sessions. The other good thing about at least our content, I think, is you can repurpose this. So if you've had content that you've built for self-paced, you can just literally drag and drop those questions into this format. I built this quiz in about 10 minutes this morning. So because I've used this in a different format. I added some things, like I put that map at the beginning. But this is an example of kind of, some open-ended feedback that you can use, right? So I think on this one, there's no correct answer. So everybody gets a point if they answered. Again, this is that same slide I had, right? Talking about how lecture is non-interactive, the slides hold you back. It creates that a formula that doesn't provide a lot of feedback. In this formula, you're sort of forcing that feedback. And so what is the main reason John thinks lectures hold the presenters back? I guess I wasn't super clear on this, but you could take a good guess. Creates too much repetition, handcuffs presenters, too much effort, halts training development, doesn't allow for spontaneity. In this case, Tally is, again, more of a presentation tool. So it's a little less gamified. Okay, good example. In a lot of cases, you may see answers all over the board, right? So I could say, let's say 60% said B, 20% said C, 20% said E, right? That gives me some information without revealing the correct answer. So all of you are kind of just waiting, right? Did I get it right? I'm not sure. Especially if you have better questions than mine. But I think here's where you can do a lot of teaching, right? So, hey, I see 80% chose B. Why do you guys think B is the right answer? And then you're having those unique dialogues based on, how each class is answering. So each session, at least I believe, is unique. So you're not getting into that routine where it's like, I speak, I ask questions into the abyss, hope for a response. Here you force that response. And now you can actually use that data and analytics to, number one, figure out why people are answering. And number two, explain why something is the right answer. So in this case, I guess I said D. Maybe I didn't remember. I should have been more thorough in my explanation. But again, I can use those PowerPoint slides to sort of fill in why, right? PowerPoint is used as a crutch and creates habits that halt creativity, spontaneity, and stops development. I guess that was kind of a couple different answers there. But again, I haven't built anything new. I just literally drug that image into this game this morning and reused it. So another question, again, using that same formula. Organizations require real-time analytics to know what's happening across their business. Why should training be any different? I took that from a different version of this game I built, and now I can ask this question: what is the main reason data is so important to presenters? And for any of you Trekkies, which I guess I don't know if I am or not, but my dad used to make me watch Star Trek. That's data from Star Trek, so a little nerdy this morning, but that's okay. Okay. All right, so it creates discussion and teachable moments. Wow, normally that's kind of all over the board there, but yeah, I actually agree. Whoops. See, I don't even know my answers. I know what my attendees know. That's true. Personally, I think it does create teachable. Maybe I typed that in wrong. Again, I did this in 10 minutes this morning, wanted to show the tally. But using data helps with knows what your attendees know. I guess I did type that. Again, we kind of had this slide up earlier, but I think the gist of it is I just want to show you how you can repurpose the content that you have. Games are only good for icebreakers, true or false. Just have the sound off. I think this is a pretty easy one too. Yeah, false. I think there's a misconception with games, right? I think in some cases in training, it's become a dirty word, right? What are we going to spend money on games for? I think, anytime that you can create something that people will remember, it's going to help your return on your investment, right? It's a tie. So again, this is just a beta version of Tally. It's going to be released next week, but I wanted to show you this because I think Tally is a really good presentation tool. And, for those of you that have used our games and for those of you that haven't, I think most people are drawn to us by, hey, I want to use a game as a review tool at the end of a session. So, that session might look like a PowerPoint, and then you might play a game at the end. Or it might be part of your learning management system, which in our game's case, you could upload to your LMS. But I like to use that formula where it's, okay, I have presentation material that I built. I don't want to lose it. How can I repurpose it into something that's more interactive? Well, Tally is a great way to do that. Drag that content into a Tally, create different types of discussion, using that lecture material that you've already built, and then maybe play a game at the end. Maybe play a catapult where you're getting, you're hurting people's feelings by which team wins, or a Jeopardy game where you're creating that excitement. But you're basically just dragging and dropping that exact same question that you've built in Tally into those games. Or you could do something where you're using Spark, again, that micro-learning component, which I think Aaron talked about on Tuesday, if you were able to join that session, where you're sending out content either prior to a session or after a session. So, later today, I could send you those same questions in a different version of Spark and say, hey, do you guys remember when we talked about why analytics are important to your training? We just want to see if you do. So I could send you a link, you click on it, and it just gives me more information, and it gives my presentees, a little bit more remediation. You could also upload it to your LMS. So if you guys are using a learning management system, that might be something that's useful. I feel like I'm talking a lot here. So do you guys have any questions? I'll go back to my PowerPoint here, and I'll just do it on this form here. It's a small group too, so feel free to, if you want to just hit your unmute button. I don't know if you're even able to do that. You're welcome to, or if you want to type it in the chat on the side there.
Hey there, it's Heather. I found my mic.
Hey, great.
So if you use that Tally tool and you're looking, for the analytics feature, does it save that somewhere? Like a permanent save of how people answered?
That's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you've used it in your learning management system. Your LMS will capture that self-paced content, however your LMS does. But you could also use our system as well. So you'll notice at the top here, there's a reports. So a classroom session. The Tally game that we just played, and I'm not sure if it's set up yet because, like I said, this will be a different image too. But it'll show the reporting here. So I'll be able to see, basically the macro data of the class. The exact same polling numbers that we just did. Hey, 84% said B on question 3, and also Heather, did really good on this test. Here's her score. We don't need to worry about her. Same with single player. So if you did want to send out the games as a self-paced link, you could also use our system as a reporting mechanism too. Or even if you didn't have an LMS, you could use ours. It's not a learning management system, but it does a lot of the same reporting stuff that LMS does. Sometimes better, depending on what LMS you use.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Heather, do you have any live training stuff coming up in the near future?
I do. Every February we have a big in-service training day. And last year, because the pandemic was the first time we've ever done it virtually. So we use C3 for a lot of our pre-training stuff that we do, because in the financial industry, you know, we're so regulated, we have to be tested on so many regulations every year. So we built a lot of that training through C3, but what I haven't done is like a feature like Tally using the C3 ping or anything like that. And that's something that I'm hoping to find a way to use this year, because we're not sure if we're going to be virtual. We're not sure if we're going to be a live event. Either way, I think it would be a fun tool.
Well, you know, the nice thing about this system is that, you know, it could be both, right? So you could be in person, you could be at home. It doesn't really matter where you are, as long as you're using the cell phone or even your computer. I would just test it out. If you have a small team meeting, maybe you guys have like a weekly training session. Just build like 3 questions, you know, something that you've already, maybe some stuff that you already have on there. Throw it into a Tally, or throw it into a game. You know, it could be Catapult. Try it out in a live session, you know, with you know, your coworkers. Maybe throw in some funny questions. You know, what's Debbie's favorite, you know, thing for lunch? You know, something like that. Just to get kind of a feel for what it could look like, or at least a way for them to picture it. That's a good way to kind of get started with it. And for those of you that are not customers, I'm more than happy to set you up with a free license, kind of a short-term demo account. And you know, if you guys have specific training needs that you need help with, I'm more than happy to walk you through it, or someone else here at C3. But again, if you have a lot of PowerPoint content that you're kind of just tired of, I think Tally is a really good tool for that. And then again, supplementing that lecture material with games and with micro learning, without creating a lot of work, I think is where we take a lot of pride in what we do. So any other questions? That was a good one, Heather. Gotta check my little chat bubble here. It's a quiet group. I'm glad we did the Tally and at least get some feedback. Well, anybody else? Again, I think our marketing folks will send everybody like a demo link. But I kind of like what I said to Heather. If you have something small coming up, Quiz might not be the best one to try, or at least if you do, maybe just do a couple questions, because I think anytime you have to go in there and build a ton of them, it gets a little overwhelming. But you know, if you're starting fresh, just do 2 or 3 questions. Maybe try Billionaire, try Tally. Just do a couple questions quick, and if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to walk you through it, show you, you know, more specifically how your team could utilize it. You know, learn a little bit more about your training, you know, department there. But you know, hopefully, again, you know, gave you some new ideas for things that you could use. It doesn't necessarily have to be our system. Could be something else. I know that there's a lot of other, you know, free tools out there. Heck, even Microsoft Teams has some polling, as much as I hate Teams. But just so that you're able to, again, maybe trim the fat, I think is probably just the number one thing, hopefully, to take away from it. Trim the fat from your PowerPoint. You know, try to add some interactivity with those presentations, whether they're hybrid or in person. Cool. I appreciate everybody's time. I don't want to take up your whole day, but any other questions before I head out? I think I have one more slide here, just has my contact info. But if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to set up meeting with you and your team. The way our system works, for those of you that don't have a license, it's a subscription service. So everything's included. Tally, what we kind of discussed today, the new version of Tally, anything that comes up in the future, the micro learning Spark and Whirl, the games, it's all inclusive. It's about $1,600 a year for one license. If you have a larger team, there's discounts with that as well. But you know, I don't want to make this too salesy, but it's you know, I think it's a pretty cool tool where you can use a lot of different things. Anything else before we head out? I hope you guys have a good holiday. If I don't talk to anyone, that's my follow-up list here, but no.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have a great day. And you're gonna get tired of me to say we're one-time purchase price versus a recurring. We've thought about it. To be honest, Brandon, the one-time fee, it would make sense if it was a downloadable product, something that we gave you. So I know that's something that we've had in the past with the Flash product, but from a business model, and if you look at some other companies, like Turning Point's a really good example. They sold the keypads, and then they basically saturated the market with them, so they don't have any new business. I think from a long-term business perspective, it would probably be not in our best interest to do that. Plus, we do update a lot of new content, so those renewal fees and help pay for that. We have to pay software developers. That new version of Tally, I think is really cool. It's just if we're not adding new content, we're not adding new things. I think that would make sense, but the support team is good, especially when they figure out how to use Teams. But Brandon, did you have that? Did you have an old version of Flash? I forget that old Flash version.
I did have the old Flash version.
No, okay. Yeah, if you have some old, I was going to say, if you have that Flash version, Heather, if you have it too, if there's content on there, we can help you convert it to that new format too. So, but yeah, that's kind of why our business model is that way, just to be, very transparent. At least that's what I think anyway. Okay. Well, you guys have a great day. Brandon, if there's anything else I can help out with, let me know. I think Aaron probably is checking with you, Heather. Take care. Have a good day.